Hey everybody, we're in Indianapolis, Indiana. We're doing the Snowman's Run. We're going to rendezvous up with the rest of the crew. We're headed to Brownsburg, Indiana right now. I'm in my 1980 Trans Am. We're going to go to a speed shop called Engine Wars in Brownsburg, Indiana. From there, we're going to go to Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum, and we're going to convoy back down to Louisville. So you're going to enjoy this video. You're going to see a lot of cars, and we're going to have fun. So stay tuned.
About a front motor dragster, and I'm a high school kid with a 66 GTO, right on. I bought that dragster and thought I'm going to get it legit because I got every cop and their brother knew me, and it was just I was an idiot. To be honest, now I drove like a crazy kid.
Yeah.
And so it was bad news, but so anyway, I got the dragster and I got a book called The Racer's Tax Guide from Steve Smith Auto Sports, and that said you could actually race, and if you keep records, you do all that, as long as you have a profit potential, it's a business. I'm like, hell yeah, right? Yeah. So I said, I'm gonna do that, right? So I started that, and we've been doing that forever. So I worked out of my shop in Ontario, California for a good while, and it was like, you know, I'm doing lots of work, building lots of motors, but they're all being shipped all over the planet. Nobody's really ever coming to the shop. But why am I paying rent on the shop? You know, so I moved it to the house, and I had it in my garage. And you can see it was just, you know, it's just insane, right? That's the good stuff. The backyard was the bad stuff. I had a mountain of connecting rods and things, and it was, I can't believe the neighbors put up with it, but they did. And so anyway, we did it out of there for a while, and then just kept, you know, doing different stuff. That was our vast inventory of, you know, stuff in stock compared to now. We got 30 sets of pistons. We got, you know, just a ton of stuff here. Wow. And, but that was no messing out. So we've been doing. So all the stuff that's on the shelf, most of it's on the website, not all of it, because I'm kind of a one-man band, and I'm not building an engine. I'm hitting that page. 62.
So do you do restoration and racing?
I don't. I just build it. I just build engines and sell parts, and then like that red car was an older gentleman, and I built him the motor for it, and he had someone else install it. So I went into that, and then he couldn't. The guy wouldn't go.
So here in a little bit, we're going to go around back to his shop back here and look at some of his engine builds.
So it's. If you look in the, I don't know if you can see it anywhere. You can see it here. See, it's filled with concrete. So I did this block and his block at the same time, right? And I've never put, this is me, it's my motor, never put it together. And that's 91 or 90 or 89 or whatever that was, right?
Wow.
So I finally said, you know what, this bad boy, I called it HPI 747 I stamped on, because back then the 747 was the big plane, right? Now it's, I don't know what it is, but it's bigger, right? So I finally said, you know, I'm going to put that thing together. So this one will have a 4 3/4 inch stroke crankshaft going into it. It'll be 522 cubic inch with a standard Pontiac bore. And it's going to go into my other 64 that's at the paint shop right now that you can't see. But so it's got splayed 4-bolt caps. Concrete block. This is about as far as you can. Well, I take it back. That one over there is as far as you can take one of these, but this is pretty dang close to as far as you're going to take one of these blocks. So
the reason I asked, a lot of us have got Trans Ams with Oldsmobile
sure.
And,
yep.
You know,
We can do that. We can do the small block Chevy stuff. I have an Edelbrock small block Chevy 400 block over there, brand spanking new. They had a big deal going. They said, hey, you know, if your warehouse distributor, you can do this and that, and we'll, you know, like their Black Friday thing or whatever. So I bought a whole pallet of heads and a bunch of stuff, and I said, I can get that block. I think I got the block for like $1,200 shipped to my door.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, spray 4-bolt cap. Even if I don't use it this week, I'll use it sometime.
Oh, it's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, it's worth it.
So we have a Pontiac Le Mans up here, and I believe it's a 64. Obviously, it's not a full frame, I mean tube frame, but it's a drag car, and got a GTO down here. Pretty awesome. This shop is really neat. If you ever get a chance to visit here, it's in Brownsburg, Indiana, and it's PontiacSpeedShop.com. So check them out. Randy's a great guy, and they have a lot of stuff. They have an online presence, and I told you about that. That's so a friend of mine's pulling in, so we're gonna go over here and check him out.
So everything's got a tolerance. You want 2000s clearance rate. Okay, that's great. So the rod has this tolerance and the crank has this tolerance. Well, if this is to the low side and this is to the high side, even though they're both okay on tolerance, together they're not okay. It's not optimized, right? So you got to go through each and every piece and map it out and write down each and every one of them. So you end up in the end, it's as good as it can get. And when it's as good as it can get, it generally works pretty well. Very close. They were. If you watch that video of them actually machining the blocks and all that stuff, it's mind-boggling awesome. The automation they have down there is big. I can sell like the stuff from Howard's to everybody and the stuff from SRB to everybody. I have to keep the volume up, right? So I could hear it now. I put a Chevy motor in that car. Oh my God, trailer or whatever. It's a dragster or whatever. So I bought this dragster that don't have any of that on it. So I can put a Ford in it. I can put a Chrysler. I can do whatever and get some combinations put together to sell those motors. That was a fun car right there. What a blast.
Yeah, I signed up on the work for speed. And he does really good being in a Trans Am car. So it's fun to watch that Pontiac power do it. We used to autocross with Pontiac power.
Right.
Like I said, I made the switch a couple years ago. Yeah, nice shot.
Yeah, he did. He just did. Motor. It's a good motor.
Runs
right?
cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's on alcohol, so when you run it, it's like when I first started using it, I'm like, is this thing ever going to register? Because it takes forever for it to show a temperature, right? So I had got my kit to come with. I said, man, take the heat gun and put the heat gun on the motor. I want to see what's going on because then the gauge is not telling me nothing, And so it does show a little temperature on the motor, and then it finally does show it. But it takes an eternity,
Yeah, I switched over to E85, and it's the same thing.
Right.
I mean, even today on the way over, I barely get to 160.
Right. The E85 is great. You just got to monitor it if you're trying to keep things right. Because
it's different with carburetor versus fuel injection because we got computers versus
right.
other
And this has a computer too. It's just different. It's got a grid.
You're not fuel injected.
You got all that stuff too. When you see all those street outlaws guys moving laptop crap, that's what that is.
So you're still able to collect data.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So are you fuel injected?
No. Okay. It's got a regular Kim Jones alcohol.
Hey guys, so we're going to be heading out here soon. We're going to convoy to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and visit the museum there, and then we're heading back down to Louisville. So I personally may not make the whole trip to Louisville. I may go rendezvous with the crew and then head back home. So it may be cut short. It's a hot, extreme day. The heat index is going to be over 100, which is totally abnormal for this area, but we're having a really bad, hot week. So in these second gen Trans Ams, it's a little warm, so may just have to turn around, but I'm gonna do the convoy as much as possible, and then stay tuned. I'll have another chapter or a video of the Trans Am Nationals. That's where the Snowman's run is ending. So enjoy this video, and thanks for watching. Hey guys, I just wanted to give you an update. So unfortunately, the Kenworth is running rich, and they're a little concerned about it. So they didn't make their way up to Indianapolis, but they will be coming over to the Trans Am Nationals in Dayton, Ohio. So they're trying to get that fixed. But there are a few that showed up today. Some have already left, and that's the way a run happens. So, you know, some people live up in Detroit, some people up in Minnesota, and they come up here to Indianapolis, and then they're going on home. So you won't see as many cars as I thought there would be, but it's still a lot of fun, and when there's a run and you do it, it's still enjoyable. So keep watching. You'll see some nice video of the IMS Museum and other things coming up. So we just had some lunch, and we're heading over to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum, so follow us along with this tour. So we just had lunch, and now we're heading over to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum to check out some of the cars over there. We're arriving at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway now. So we made our way into the museum. You can see all the Indy cars behind me. This is quite a museum. You should really check this out sometime if you're ever in Indianapolis. There's some amazing stories on the wall. You can grab a guided tour. If you do the full tour, they'll take you up in the pagoda and look at the track, and they'll take you around the track. But we're just doing the museum today, and there's some spectacular cars. There's some old vintage cars back here, and then you have some of the newer modern later models in the middle, and then there's some other areas over here that I'm going to take you into. So I hope you enjoy this video as we go through it all and check out these cars. It's pretty awesome.
When I grew up, there was, Mickey Mantle, AJ Foyt, and Elvis Presley. You know that?
Yeah.
No, so good time. Yeah, down the hallway there. You go down the hallway, and everybody always asks me where the bathroom at. It's on the right. Like CCR song, there's a bathroom on the right. But go on down there and go to the left, and that's where the trophy is. There's also Indy cards you get your picture in. I tell people you get to our age, you might get in it, but you may not be able to get out of it. You know. And then there's a display there about all the different traditions that came up over the years, like drinking milk in Victory Lane and everything. So if you got any questions, ask anybody dressed like this.
So what's the big cup?
The big one?
Yeah.
That was called the Wheeler-Shedler Trophy. And Wheeler and Shedler, they were local guys that made artwork from the turn of the 20th century. Wheeler was one of the 4 founders of the Speedway. Okay? So they had a series of like sprint races here in 1909 and 1910, and that usually was the trophy that was awarded to whoever won the big race. They were usually like in 1910, 3 days around Memorial Day, 3 days around the 4th of July, and 3 days around Labor Day, and they'd always have like a 250 or 300 mile race as the final race of the series. And so whoever won that was awarded that trophy. And the story was that during 1910, the series of races around Memorial Day was really popular. And then July 4th was really hot, so there wasn't that many people there, and they always had something else to do. Labor Day, hardly anybody showed up because they're getting ready to harvest crops, and kids are going back to school and everything. So after a few days after that, they said, okay, we got to come up with something new for next year, for 1911. They said, okay, we're going to have, how far could they go, in about 6 or 7 hours? Yeah, about 500 miles. Okay, we're going to have a 500-mile race, and we're going to have this ungodly amount of prize money like nobody's ever seen before. And that's how the first 500-mile race got. And they said Memorial Day seemed like it was a good time because farmers had gotten their crops in the fields, and, they're just sitting around waiting, nothing to do really to speak of like they had been, and the weather was reasonably decent. Okay, it's going to be Memorial Day, so that's how the first 500 was.
So here you have 2023 all the way over here, and then down you go the whole way to the start of the very first race and all the winners, as you can see here. So in this video it talks about the car right behind me, the Domino's car driven by Ari Leyendijk, and I remember that race, and you probably do too that's watching this video, but this is the car right here behind me, and it's pretty spectacular to see this, so it's pretty neat. Up close, you see this here. I remember that race a lot. 1990. 1982 Indianapolis 500 winner, Gordon Johncock. Who remembers this? And we have Johnny Rutherford over there. Al Unser. Here's Al Unser's car. 1978 Indy 500 winner. We have A.J. Foyt's car, Gilmore Racing Team. That was quite a neat sound out of that motor. That was just a different pack altogether. And you're going down to 1970, you got Al Unser's car here. So you got an Al Unser car and an Al Unser car.
they grip the road better. Of course, the downside is that they wear out quicker. I mean, you see these have a little bit of tread on them, but by 1970.
So 1971 Al Unser. So this is unbelievable. We got Al Unser 1970, 71, and 78. And then you have A.J. Foyt's car back here. This Foyt car was 1977 winner, and it sounded so distinctly because it was a Ford built. It was a Ford based Foyt V8 turbocharged engine, and it was quite a different sound. That is cool. 1980 winner Johnny Rutherford in the Pennzoil. I had an RC car that I loved yellow Pennzoil labels and decor and garage signs, and I had an RC car that I made in Pennzoil, and that was Johnny Rutherford. All right, we have 1986 Indy 500 winner Bobby Rahal. Who remembers Bobby Rahal? His son, Graham Rahal, has a speed shop out here in Indianapolis, Brownsburg area, and they have a cruise in once a year, and they also have cars and coffee, and it's really a neat shop. But I remember this, 1986. That was quite a race. Bobby Rahal. 1996 winner, Buddy Lazier. Delta Faucet Company. I remember that very well. You know, I had gone to the Indy 500 with my dad and our friends in the mid 80s. And, you know, I was just a teenager, but I remember that time very well. And to me, those were some of the best times. Even into the 90s were, honestly, in my opinion, some of the best races on the track here at Indianapolis 500. Billy Gallagher. Again, Arie Luyendyk.
Checkered flag is in the air. Can you believe this? He did it. The rookie will win the 100 Indianapolis 500-mile race. Checkered flag. You just won the Indy 500.
Alexander Rossi. So I'm kind of going backward, but that's okay. I'm going newest to oldest, and a little mix in between with the 70s. But right here behind me, I'm going to highlight some of these as well and show you we have some spectacular vintage cars that are in here too. So in 1967, taking the lead for the final time, only 4 laps from the end, and then having to pick his way through the debris of the last multi-car accident on the main straight, A.J. Foyt came through to join Louis Meyer, Wilbur Shaw, and Maury Rose as only the 4th driver at the time to have won the Indianapolis 500 for a 3rd time. Right here. Bobby Unser. This was his first of 3 500 wins, and he came in 68, driving this Rizline sponsored Dan Gurney Eagle, and 1968 winner, Bobby Unser. Can you imagine? I mean, your head stuck out this far. You were up here. So safety, it was kind of an issue back then. Look at this. Air coming through that vent there. That's really interesting. See if you know who this is. Of course, 1969 winner, Mario Andretti. Another A.J. Foyt car, 1964 winner. 1964 marked the final time that a 4-front engineered car would enter victory lane at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The A.J. Foyt driven, A.J. Watson built, Sheridan Thompson's Offenhauser Roadster currently appears virtually as it did the day it won. I mean, you can see here, it's not been cleaned up at all. I mean, a little, but there's still road tar on there. Look at this, amazing. A.J. Foyt's name on there. Can you imagine? This is so unbelievable. These are just awesome. It's neat to look back at these vintage cars and see how they were powered, how they were engineered. I mean, you've got the drive shaft right there next to your knee. Can you imagine doing 500 miles in this around the track? Pretty awesome stuff. Here's another A.J. Watson built car. 1963 winner, Parnelli Jones. Another Watson Roadster, powered by an Offenhauser. 1962 winner, Roger Ward. Cool car. 1961 winner, A.J. Foyt. These cars are amazing. Another Offenhauser powered car. These Offenhausers sounded so cool. You could really distinctively pick them out among other cars. Let's go over here. We've got a 1960, let's see, Jim Rathman. What a great looking car. It's actually kind of cool with the burgundy interior and this color blue. Really nice. Now we're going to go over to look at some of the older cars through here. We're getting into the 1950s, so check it out. 1957, 58, 1955. They nicknamed this the Pink Zinc. (1955, 54). These were during the times fuel injection was just starting to become more popular, and they were still learning the system and trying to get it right, but they were starting to come into play a lot in the mid-50s. The Pink Zinc was a A.J. Watson car, and it was a Bob Swikert. 1952 Troy Ruttman. 1952. 1951 winner. This was built as a dual-purpose national championship car in 1949 for both paved and dirt tracks. This Louis Lovinsky Frank Curtis built Offenhauser powered creation was the next to last dirt car to win at the Indianapolis 500. 1950. This is the car that won in 1950. This is a Johnny Parsons car. Go over here and we have, these cars are really amazing. 1946 winner. The first 500 to be held after World War II. This car right here. 1941 winner. 1928. Look at this. An inline 8-cylinder. Wow, that's really amazing. Really amazing. This is an outstanding example of an artistic workmanship created within the shops of the legendary car builder Harry Miller. And then Louis Meyer, destined to become the first three-time winner of the Indianapolis 500, was a virtually unknown 23-year-old man when he captured the 28 race with this classic car right here. 1914 winner right here, 1914. And noticed it was accompanied by drivers, plural, 2 drivers. You had one that's probably, obviously the driver, and the other guy's helping pump the oil and whatever else might need to happen. But yeah, it was a pair of 1913 French Grand Prix Delage cars were shipped in 1914 to Indianapolis to run the 500. And that's why it says Delage. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Delage?
Delage.
All right. Everybody watching this video knows this car. Ray Haroon, 1911, the Marmon Wasp. This is the car that is probably most recognized that coined the Indy 500. Number 32, Ray Haroon, the Marmon Wasp. Isn't that cool? That is the real deal right there. 1939 winner, the Samson Special. 1925 Junior 8 Special, front drive Miller. Noticed the front wheel drive. 1905 Premier, Carl Fisher. Right there. Pretty amazing. 1922 Duesenberg Special, Jimmy Murphy. You got the 1948 Blue Crown Special, driven by Maury Rose, right there. 1955 Henry Banks. And then you have the original Brickyard. The Indianapolis 500 was often referred to as the Brickyard. And this is the 1961 Golden Anniversary set of bricks. You have the 1912, which I believe is the second annual Indianapolis 500, was in 1912. And check out, they've got this back here that looks like the old, actually, this is the true wall, not a replica, of Gasoline Alley. Wow. It is for real. This is the doors and the wall of Gasoline Alley. So this would be the pits where they would garage them. They'd work in the garages behind the pit area in this section here. It's been taken from the original Indianapolis 500 and put back together here. In 1909 Cannonball Baker Indian motorcycle. And then over here you have the Tucker Special. This is the Preston Tucker Special, driven by Al Miller in 1947. 1947, right here. Mr. Al Miller. In 1950s, they started playing with the diesel Cummins motors, and this was a 1952 Cummins diesel Curtis, driven by Fred Agabashian. 1932 Miller Hart Special, driven by Fred Frame. Here you have a 1938 Boyle Special. This was a Maserati built race car, and this was driven by Wilbur Shaw. That name is pretty recognizable and pretty well known in the Indy 500. 1938 Wilbur Shaw. Coming up on a 1964 Lotus powered by Ford Lotus. It's a Type 34, And this was driven by Jim Clark. Over here we have a Ferrari special, Ferrari built special, Type 375, 1952. Here you have a 1978 Texaco Star Wildcat. Most of you recognize this car because it was woman driven by Janet Guthrie. Talk about a unique car. 1964 Smoky Unique Hurst floor shift special. It was a sidecar shift right there. And it was a Hurst edition, which obviously you can tell Hurst, their signature colors was gold and black. 1977, actually all the way back to 76, Pontiac Motor Division came out with a 50th anniversary Trans Am that was black and gold. And then they had a Hurst edition in 77, which was a special edition, again, Hurst, black and gold. This is a unique car right here, driven by Bobby Johns. 1957 Dean Van Line special, Kuzma Roadster. This was driven by Jimmy Bryan in 1957. Now we're getting into the more open wheel, flat tire 1980 Penske. This is a PC7 Cosworth. Very rare. This was driven by Tim Richmond, and shortly before becoming an outstanding performer in the NASCAR, the charismatic Tim Richmond from Ashland, Ohio, made quite an impact during his brief career in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He was the driver of this car, and he was assigned in 1980 to a Penske Cosworth powered V8 powered Indy car, and it was fielded by a team led by the father of Tim Richmond, and he ran the fastest practice lap of any driver until an accident the morning of the first qualifying day. 1958, this is a Dalgard special, Kuzma. They nicknamed this the Gray Ghost. 1958. 1946 Alfa Romeo. Always a unique design. Alfa Romeo always had that teardrop front end. 1964. This was driven by Louis Durant. Really cool car here. 1935 Miller Ford, driven by Ted Horn. This is a 1968 special car, powered by a Pratt & Whitney. 1968. It's an A.J. Foyt sprint car here in 1973. This was built in Brownsburg, Indiana. A front-wheel drive 1928 race car. Leon DeRay is who drove this. Pretty spectacular. '96 Ari Lyondike driven car. This was a Bird's Cafeteria sponsorship that used to be a cafeteria restaurant in Greenwood, Indiana. Jonathan Bird's Cafeteria was the main sponsor of this car. 1996 Ari Lyondike. This is an add-on back here in the hallway. They have where you can do some driving experiences, and they have some memorabilia for sale and all kinds of literature on the walls you can read. Just a addition to the museum here. So that wraps up the tour of the museum. I hope you enjoyed this video so far of all this. And we're getting ready to go to Louisville. I'll probably taper off at some point, but I want to follow the convoy of the run as well. And keep watching. So away we go. We're going underneath the track right now. Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching, and we will catch you on the next run. So as I suspected, we all got split up on the run, and as I said before in the video, we had planned on peeling off. So got my friend Brian Hartley with me in my 1980 Trans Am, and we went ahead and pulled off the interstate here in Franklin, Indiana, and we're going to get a bite to eat and just enjoy the rest of the day. So thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for more.